Hi guys, welcome back to another video. In today's video we're going to have some Division 16 ranked online gameplay in the heavyweight division. And before we get into the actual fights, I just want to say thank you for the support recently. I'm going to start streaming soon. I think I just hit 50 subscribers and I'm very thankful for that. Obviously I'm just going to try to keep posting content that I think people would like to see, and hopefully my channel keeps growing. But yeah, thank you so much for the support. If there's anything you'd like to see, let me know in the comments below. Any videos with specific fighters or any gameplay in particular you'd like to see, then let me know, and I'll be sure to start working on it. And in this fight, we're obviously going to use Volkov. I think he's the tallest fighter in the UFC, because I think Struve's now officially done. And as you can see, we're coming up against the Division 18 John Jones. And one thing with John Jones, the biggest weakness, because obviously he doesn't have a lot of weaknesses, he's just all round pretty much perfect, to be honest with you. Especially if you implement a very wrestling heavy lead leg attack heavy game plan. Use John's left leg, then elbows, knees. You can pretty much be untouchable if you use him correctly. But the one big weakness, and the one thing that is why I can't use John Jones very well, is his boxing ability. It just isn't there. I'm not sure what it is. And as you can see, my opponent's taught him. And the one thing to note is that obviously this fight is a 5-round fight, and as you can see by the duration of the video, it's gonna go these 5 rounds. And one thing is, I like to use fighters realistically. So when I'm using Volkov, I'm going to be very patient, and he throws quite a high output of strikes actually in real life, but just the way he's built on the game, I'm trying to stay patient. I'm really trying to figure out what my opponent's trying to do here, what this John Jones is going to do. Is he going to look to knee spam, elbow spam? And one thing I've noticed off this round is that this opponent is quite clean to work on the clinch. And when using Volkov, one thing I do like to use myself is that clinch. The clinch is very underutilized in the game, in the sense that it's only really used to drag your opponent towards the fence, or as a panic mechanism you clinch. It's very hard to deny the clinch. Obviously there is no denial button, you just have to move your head, which often or not would actually result in you getting in more trouble, because you'll sway to avoid a strike, end up getting hit and end up getting hurt. But as the fight progresses and as the rounds go on, you'll see me utilize the clinch more often, and I'll talk a bit about that and why I'm using it when it appears in the gameplay. So I am going to be trying to attack John's legs and use the switch kick to the body, just to drain my opponent's stamina a bit. But my opponent does a good job of denying leg kicks throughout this fight. Here's the first example of me using the clinch, just to get off some knees, some Muay Thai knees. Really drains your opponent's stamina, and it can throw off some of the rhythm that your opponent's building. As you can see, well-timed leg kick here, ends up getting the leg health event. And my opponent's throwing the teeps to the head now. Clinch again, move my opponent towards the fence so I can control the centre of the octagon. And that's really why I do it. With Volkov it works really well. Other fighters it works well with is Alistair Overeem in the heavyweight division. Also it works well with Edson Barboza. I found is that when you clinch, obviously just because of the levels of the knees, the higher the level the better, obviously the more damage it's going to do. But you can really use it to control distance, and that sounds a bit weird, considering obviously when you clinch you're forcing it to be in sort of a boxing range. But when you clinch you can actually push your opponent towards the fence, and even as the striker this is beneficial, because then you can back off and you can control the distance, because you have the centre of the octagon and you're pushing your opponent away towards the fence. If you need to work a takedown with a wrestler, you can clinch and move towards the fence and then look to get the takedown off that, which is a strategy I use often. But I'm trying to be very careful here. As you can see, my opponent goes for the takedown. We do a brilliant job of denying it. My opponent then goes to the clinch, and now you're starting to see this is going to be very clinch heavy gameplay. And I don't often or not post too many long videos on my channel. Obviously you're going to have 2 in maybe not in a row, but I've got an easy video that should have come out before this, showing you how you can utilize the sprawl as a defensive fighter to actually benefit you. And here we used great movement to get away from the clinch attempt there. And that's one thing, is that movement is very important on this game. And I think the video before this I showed it's a Justin Gaethje gameplay against Tony Ferguson, the spamming elbows and knees, and I'll really show you how you can utilize movement to get out of certain strikes and put you in a more favourable position. As you can see here, we work my opponent towards the fence. I think I threatened to take my opponent's back there. And one thing I've noticed is if you hop between going from your opponent's back to that normal position, back to the normal position, the referee doesn't actually split you up for a while, so you can really use it to sort of like an exploit to drag out time. But where my opponent's John Jones, I was expecting a more grapple heavy gameplay. Obviously my opponent did land 2 takedowns from the clinch, I believe, but didn't opt to get on top. And as you can see, it's only round 2 and my left leg is in a bit of trouble, and this is something that I did notice. So as you can see, I've switched stance, and I was hoping my opponent wouldn't notice anything. As you can see, we clinched there and off the break land a good hook, and now is where you can see the clinch starting to work in my favour. I'm really going to look to utilise the clinch. We take my opponent down, and this was purely just to get a takedown on the judges' scorecards, because obviously my opponent got 2 takedowns but no control time, so I thought we'd just take my opponent down for a second, show him that I'm confident enough to do so. And my opponent gets me in the clinch again. John has very good knees, so got to be very careful. But this gameplay is going to be clinch heavy, and I'm just hoping that what you guys can get from this video is how to use the clinch effectively. I wouldn't recommend doing it with every and any fighter, but with certain fighters it does work. And as you can see, we actually got stunned with that front kick, and that's something my opponent was throwing quite a lot, so I needed to be very careful. And yeah, started this round, my stamina's in a good position. Obviously 5-round fight, stamina is very, very important. I can't stress that enough. I fight a lot of fighters that don't worry too much about their stamina. It goes into the later rounds and they get punished for it. And now I'm going to be trying to work the body more just to slow my opponent down. I'm not sure what my opponent's stamina levels are, but considering John Jones has quite a good gas tank, I'm assuming they're in a very good position. And as you can see, we actually get stunned there. We had to use head movement to get away to avoid the clinch. My opponent then threw an overhand, which I presume was just a clinch attempt, but that, fortunately enough, didn't result in a knockdown. And again, you see me go to the clinch, and I was finding I had great success in the clinch for round 1, round 2, so it's a strategy that I was going to look to utilise if I couldn't get off the leg kicks and body attacks. As you can see, I'm being very, very patient. Get hit to the head again, using head movement to try to avoid the clinch attempt because I know it's coming. Check the leg kick here, and this is where I've noticed that my opponent's leg health might also not be in a great position. We get the sway off there to avoid the front kick. Beautiful leg kick strike, and I'm just trying to be extremely patient. I'm not sure how the judges are scoring the fight, but I've just got to stick to my game plan, not deviate too much from it. And my game plan coming into this was obviously to utilise leg kicks, keep this at range, avoid going to the ground. And throughout the fight I noticed that the clinch, when I was in the clinch, I felt I was getting the better of the situations. I was really using it to control the fight. And if you find success with something, even if it's something that you didn't expect, you should look to utilise it and give yourself an advantage. As you can see though, this round hasn't been my best round. My opponent's having some success, but I'm just trying to maintain composure, keep calm. Beautiful switch kick here, and as you can see, we're really working the body. When my opponent misses a big strike, we go to the body, and we go back to the clinch here. And the clinch is really the tool that wins me this fight, because when you're in the clinch, I believe you actually get control time as well, and that's very important. And I was waiting for my opponent to mix in the grappling, but it didn't really come. We land a head kick there, and we land that head kick just purely off the fact that I haven't thrown many head kicks this fight, and when you don't throw something, your opponent won't expect it. My opponent's thrown that flying knee quite a few times now, so whenever we was in range, I was expecting my opponent to go for it. Try to jump on my opponent's back there just to get a last minute takedown just for the scorecards. I've pretty much guaranteed to lose this round because of the knockdown. So going into round 4 and 5, I know I need to be extremely cautious, especially due to my leg health. I know my opponent's leg health also isn't in the greatest position, so I'm keeping that in mind. My left leg's not in the best shape, so as you can see I switch stance as soon as possible. My opponent lands that again, gets me in the clinch and lands a takedown straight into side saddle, which is obviously an extremely dominant position. And here I have to be very, very careful, because now my opponent's in, you know, where I think my biggest weakness is using Volkov, is the ground game aspect of it. So I need to be very, very careful. I need to keep my grapple advantage high, my stamina in a good position, because I know that sooner or later my opponent will be going for a submission. And purely because I don't know how good my opponent's submissions are, I need to treat him as if he's a submission expert. Using Jon Jones as well. Jon Jones got great submissions. I didn't want him to get to side control and then to crucifix, but my opponent ends up in top mount, and from here I believe my opponent, yeah, he gets off the deny. Once he gets off the deny, I knew a submission was coming, and now it's really a time where I'm just hoping my submission defense gets me out of this, because so far in this fight it's been I'd say it's been a pretty even fight, but in my opinion I'm edging it slightly. And I really didn't want to lose, not in this fashion anyway, especially in the 4th round, when I know there's only one more round to go and I could pretty much see out a decision win. So as you can see, he's done a good job here of getting out. It was close, it was very close, especially towards the end there. If you look at the meters, it's separated by a second, if even that. So we opt to get up. I don't want to be on the ground, obviously, against Jon Jones. We're swaying the kicks now. The front kick's obviously a good tool to use. We get the leg health event again, and I try to capitalise by going for the clinch. My opponent hits me, gets the stun, goes for the front kick, which we dodge. I'm starting to get the timing down now in the front kicks late in the 4th round. And again, you see me resort to the clinch because I'm having success with the clinch, and if something's not broken, don't fix it. Although it wasn't in my original game plan to clinch as much, I'm having quite good success with it. Therefore, that's why I keep going back to it. Like I said, the control time and just the volume of strikes you can throw. Land a good uppercut to the body there. And my head health now isn't in a great position. As you can see, Jon's chin's really holding up. And due to my head health not being in a great position, I need to be very cautious with what strikes I choose to throw. And when I choose to throw them. You can see really utilising the clinch here, just giving my opponent no space. And the counter here would obviously for my opponent be to throw knees and elbows or hooks. A straight also, if he throws a straight, it really blocks out the clinch attempts, but fortunately my opponent wasn't doing this. And now we're going into the 5th and final round, and this is going to be a very big round. I know that if I see it out, I should get the decision win. And I've tried to maintain composure throughout the fight, be very patient. And off the get-go in round 5, I can see my opponent's being a bit more aggressive, pushing the pace a bit more. Maybe my opponent's looked at the stats for the rounds and realised that he might not actually be up, therefore he has to really push the pace in this last round. And I was expecting a very grapple-heavy approach this last round to try and get a submission finish potentially. But as you can see, my opponent's willing to stand, and I've just got to pick my shots very carefully. Done a good job there of avoiding the front kick, but the hook doesn't stun Jon Jones, and Jon Jones' chin is just, it's unreal. The granite chin he has is just, how many times I hit him with the hook after that front kick and just nothing's happened. Avoid the clinch there and get into a clinch of our own. The clinch, of course, as I've been saying throughout the whole video, has really been a saving grace. Check the leg kick there, which knocks down my opponent. And now I can see that my opponent's a lot more frustrated, because my opponent needs to push the pace in order to win the fight. I'm willing to maintain the distance when my opponent gets in close, look to use the clinch as I do so here, and then break. Keep my opponent on the outside. My opponent's looking for these big strikes now to hopefully get a knockdown. I'm trying to maintain calm, work the body. And I can feel the frustration growing within my opponent. Volkov's a very tricky fighter to use if you're getting pressured, just because the boxing ability isn't really there. If you keep the fight at range, it's really good, and obviously now I know that in the clinch Volkov is very good also. Use him a bit like Alistair over him. Overeem's probably got a bit better boxing. As you can see, we get the leg health event there. Straight into the clinch after the flying knee. Push my opponent towards the fence. Go to the leg again, and this round's been real big, and obviously this round's just dividends. It's all the work from the 4 rounds prior adding up to this final round, and it just shows you, if you stay composed, you can capitalise on the work from the prior rounds. As you can see though, we do get knocked down there. My head health is extremely low, therefore it wouldn't take much to knock me down. And now I've got to be a bit more cautious, because my opponent knows it's not going to take a lot to knock me down, and is probably going to push the pace a bit. We get the leg health event there. Go back to maintaining distance. My opponent switched stance now. I'm waiting for these big sort of flurries of strikes, the uppercuts, the hooks. I go for the kick there, which I thought would have cancelled my opponent's spinning attack. However, it did not, and as you can see, that could have been very bad. That could have been a straight knockout. Go to the clinch again. With 16 seconds left now, there's not much I can do to mess up the fight. We throw a beautiful leg kick, and the leg kicks really started to play dividends in this final round. Obviously, it was a tool that we was chipping away at. Normally, I try to get the leg kicks in as soon as possible, just to really limit my opponent's power when I'm fighting a power puncher. But my opponent was doing such a good job of checking the leg kicks that it was a bit challenging for me to keep throwing them, especially because my left leg, I believe, was really weak. So I had to wait to throw the strikes, and the decisions coming in now, and the scorecards will be coming in. I want to know how you guys would have scored the fight, and also if you picked up anything, if you're going to start using the clinch more often, because often a lot it's just used, like I said, to push your opposition towards the fence, and then work a takedown from there. But luckily we get the win there. It was a good fight, very calm, very patient. If you look at the stats here, it shows you 2 minutes 49 of control time, all from the clinch pretty much, except that one takedown. We got round by round breakdown coming through here, and then the judges' scorecards should be coming up now. So as you can see, pretty decisive victory. Thank you for watching the video. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.